Peace everyone, Unmask here, and welcome to part 3 of how to draw anime. So in part 1, I showed you how to create the character base using the proportional chart. In part 2, I showed you how to draw the head, face, eyes, and hair. And finally, in this part, I will be showing you how to put clothes on your character. Also, similarly, as in part 1 and part 2, I will be giving you this reference sheet so that you can refer to it during this tutorial. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for our character, I am going to go ahead and do a more classical look. I'm going to give her a fitted long sleeve shirt, and then I'm going to give her kind of a sweater vest, and I'll add a bow tie, and then she'll have a skirt. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work with the first layer of clothing, which will be the fitted undershirt. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people doing when they're drawing clothes is that they draw the clothes right along the skin of the character. So you have to try to get out of that habit first. So to draw the collar, start with a V here in her neck, and then throw the collars down like this, and then take a line back here and line back like that. And when I get to the edge, I want to make sure that I give it some volume. So I'm drawing off her neck here, and then I'm just going to curl this down like that. And I'm going to put kind of a bow tie here, so I'm just going to put like a little circle to mark it off. The other thing that I like to do with these shirts is draw the seams of the shoulders to kind of give me where the structure of the shirt is. And when you do this, you can kind of base the wrinkles of the shirt off of where these pinch points are. So here you can see that this is her body here, so I don't want to put the shirt up against that. I want to give it some thickness, and that's what a lot of people miss when they're drawing clothes. You don't have to give a lot when you do this, but you do have to add a little bit more than what would otherwise be there if it was just her skin. And if you look at the types of folds that you see in the reference chart on the fitted, you'll notice that they're a little bit tighter and more defined. And when you get these pinches in the elbow, they kind of crawl out like that. And similar up here. And pay really close attention to the kind of folds that you're getting with each kind of clothing style. With these fitted shirts, you get really particular folds, and each material kind of has its own folding structure in the way that it works. And you'll see the difference between this fitted shirt and the sweater vest. You'll see that the folds that you get with the fitted shirt are much sharper. So there's one sleeve. And you can see I haven't erased the arm yet, because right now this is just the sketch. And you can see here where the arm crease is, where she's folding up her arm. And you can kind of just work your wrinkles out from there, just like over here, but just translate it based on the position. And because she's drawing her arm up, the cloth will bunch here, but it will pull here. So there's going to be some pull on this side of the arm. And that's another thing that you want to try to remember is what the cloth is doing based on the movements of the body. If you look at pictures of anime, you'll notice that a lot of the wrinkles and the texture of the clothing actually comes from when you color it, and not from the line work itself. So you want to keep it simple. Now that I have this kind of sketch done, I'm going to throw on the sweater vest, and it's just going to be V-neck, kind of like this, and it's going to come over her shoulders, just like this, and then it's going to come across her hips here. And you can see I'm not really doing much, I'm just kind of blocking it off. And then, so this sweater vest will be the loose fitted clothes that you see in the reference chart. And so the folds are a lot more subtle and a lot softer. So I'm going to erase some of the lines here. And because it's heavier, gravity kind of pulls it down harder. So from her breast here, it's just going to kind of fall straight down with just a subtle curve, and it's going to fall down here. Because it's heavy, you're going to find that the cloth is going to kind of pool down here. It's going to get thicker down here. So you're going to have kind of the shape off the hips where the cloth kind of bunches up down here, where it's going to pile up on top of itself. If this shirt was tighter, instead of a sweater vest, like a t-shirt or something, you would see lines coming across here, and you'd see more lines for the folds. So none of these lines will actually exist in this, because this is a loose fitted sweater. So you don't see these lines as much. I'm just going to clean up my lines and erase the character base underneath the clothes, and then we'll get right back to adding the details. Alright, so now that we have some of our lines cleaned up, it brings me to the next part. You want to try to avoid clusters, and what you'll see here and here are what I refer to as clusters, where a bunch of details start to like build up on top of each other, and it's kind of getting too much in this area and too much going on in here. The best thing to do is to just kind of get rid of those extra details and try to make it flow into each other a little bit better. And in this case, I think I'm just going to kind of throw the shirt right in there, kind of like that. And then what I'll do is I'll simplify the fold here and just kind of bring it out. Maybe put another one here. What that's going to do is it's going to make the composition easier to look at. There's a lot of play when you're doing clothes, because sometimes you just have to kind of reset your details and move them around until you find what looks best for your character. And so here you can see this cluster, and I'm just going to erase most of it and kind of start over. You kind of have to just move it around until you find the position that you want it to be in. And then for the sweater, adding some details, I'll add like a little flap that comes down. And again, making sure that the material is off the skin. This is really what makes clothes look like it's on the character. So the bow tie here, just kind of draw rectangles down, and I'm kind of ignoring everything else and just drawing this the way that I want it to look. I have a lot of details up in this area, so I want to be very careful that I don't create that bunching, clustering effect. And that's it for the top portion of this character. The next thing I'm going to do is work on the skirt. So this is going to be kind of the loose-fitted clothing still, maybe about here. And when I'm doing a skirt, I kind of like to just draw the shape of the bottom here, and then just kind of throw lines out. And I'm just going to do a standard pleated skirt. And you just kind of throw lines down, evenly spaced, kind of like this. And there's not too many folds that you have to worry about with this style of skirt, because all these lines kind of hide it. And you can already kind of see the skirt coming to life. So the next thing that you do with this kind of skirt is you shape off the bottom a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up a little bit and let that corner hang out, and then I'm just going to continue that same pattern where I come up a little bit, create the corner, and you can see where her legs come in, and it would have this kind of shape here. And you can use that as a guide to creating some folds in the pleats. So we'll come up like this and we'll create a fold here. And it can even come out a little bit like that, and then add the material in the back there, just like that. And then continue that same folded pattern there. So it's pretty easy, and I like this kind of gap, but if you notice, this line here is going straight into her leg, and it kind of adds an oddness. So what I'm going to do is I want to offset that line, because I don't want lines running straight into other lines, because that makes it look weird. You want to try to avoid that. That's another thing. So we have that you want to make sure you draw the clothes off the skin. You want to avoid the clusters that we saw here and here and here. And you also don't want lines of different material running into other lines directly. So that crease there, I don't want lining up perfectly with her leg because it makes it look like it's one thing. Say I was to finish off her skirt over here, and I just made the crease like line up perfectly with her leg. You can see how it looks like her leg is coming right into the skirt, and so that's the reason you want to try to avoid running lines right into each other like that. So there's the skirt. The next thing to do, I'm not sure if I want thigh-high socks like this, or just knee-high socks like this. We'll go with the knee-high socks. So for something like socks or stockings, you can draw the top just like this. And since this material is in general skin tight, it's okay to leave this part smooth with the flesh. However, when you do the top, you want to kind of add the most subtle pinch in the skin. It makes it look like the leg is coming out of the sock. It's extremely subtle, but I think it's a very important quality to have. Anytime you have anything skin tight, you want to add just that subtle pinch. And then since these are socks, they usually bunch up right around the ankles, kind of like this. They kind of make this shape here. And then work out the details after you get the sketch in. On the outside, you'll just add a little bump where the sock is bunching up. And for shoes, if you remember in part 1 how I described drawing the feet, broke down each step, and the technique that I used is to do these circles here, like this, to create the base of the feet. So this is where the heel's touching, this is where the toe's touching. So you have the heel up here, and then you have the toes over here. I use the same exact technique to build the shoes, but I do it around the foot. So I still have these same circles, and I create the sole of the shoe similar to how I created the sole of the foot, except I make it wider than the foot, just like that. And then I build the shoes right around the foot. I'm just going to create kind of this base, and then I'm going to erase the lines on the inside. So now I'm going to go through and erase the foot that's inside the shoe. Now that the lines are erased, I'm just going to go through and kind of add some minor details to the shoe, like the sole of the foot. And even shoes sometimes have creases. So how her foot is shaped here, there might be a crease in the shoe like this. So you can design any shoe that you want. And I recommend looking at reference photos for any particular style that you would like to have. Alright, so the last thing to do with this character is to just clean up the lines, and that will be it. Alright, so here you have the final drawing of our character. I went ahead and put a fresh coat of ink on it. I hope that this tutorial series was helpful and you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions also, let me know. I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned a lot from this tutorial. Please give it a share and a like so that other people can learn from it as well. And you can also support my channel on Patreon. It allows me to create these tutorials and offer them for free. Thanks again. Take care. Peace.